hello, I didn't see you there because I'm flying casual today, as I normally do. And I'm joined by the one, the only Mr. Joshua Lucas from the Den of Nerds. What's up, Joshua?
What's up, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fan-terrific day.
I like that word, fan-terrific. Yeah. Josh is in his car in an undisclosed location. We can't tell you where he is because it's very secret, but it rhymes with Schmeriash 51.
Yes, indeed. And I brought my cool co-pilot that always rides with me now that James is probably super jealous about. My little Porg, baby!
Does he sit on your dashboard like
no, he's actually attached. What's so cool, so he's attached to this thing. I don't want to take it off or ruin it, but he's attached to my lanyard, which hangs off my window, my rear window, which also has the last badge from Celebration when we left on Sunday. Oh man. Yeah. Such good memories, dude. That was awesome.
I miss those. Those lanyards were so pretty too. I wanted to but today we're gonna talk about something kind of neat. That's a little bit off the beaten path from what the Last Jedi hype has usually been pointing towards, and that's two particular items, two physical artifacts, namely Luke's compass and Snoke's bling.
Yes.
So let's start with the compass. I have not played Battlefront II as of yet. Yes. I did a little thing with Microsoft, like a live stream, but I wasn't really listening to what's going on. But you've seen the compass thing. What's going on there? Tell us what that is.
Well, essentially, it's just an artifact that Luke is looking for. It is in a vault on an observatory on a planet, and the observatories were all of these basically little mapping areas and places to hold information and relics that Palpatine had, all kind of what we think is on the western reaches of the galaxy, right before the unknown regions. And this is all because of his feeling the call out to the unknown regions, and he knows something's out there and he's trying to map it out, but also he's gathering relics, Jedi relics, Sith relics. We know famously in the Lando Calrissian comic book that Lando steals a yacht which has this mask, the Sith mask, which corrupts these Force cats, which that freaking comic book's amazing. Everyone should go read that. It's literally my favorite, maybe not quite my favorite now, but for a long time it was my favorite Star Wars comic they had done, because you read the whole thing in Billy D. Williams' voice. I mean, it's, that in of itself is worth the price of admission. But yeah, so the compass is a thing that was on one of those observatories that Luke goes on a mission with one of the characters in Battlefront. I'll keep it really non-spoilery, but he leaves with the compass, and that is all you know of it from Battlefront. However, I want to say 6 months ago, this all made news when Breaking Star Wars talked about the compass. They talked about this compass that Luke would have and that it would play some kind of a role within the film. Luke has been on a sort of Indiana Jones-like crusade ever since the end of Return of the Jedi. He's out there looking for these artifacts. The compass appears to be one. A lot of people believe it is what takes him to ach-to. So.
Ooh. Okay. And then, by the way, FYI, I totally agree about that Lando comic. That's been my favorite so far. The bromance with Lando and Lobot, it's so heartfelt.
Yes.
So we've got this compass that he picks up on this planet, and then there was this little excerpt from the Ken Liu Luke Skywalker book, which my feelings on this book are a bit like Lando himself. I tend to flip-flop on it. Yeah. But there's just this one excerpt where a bunch of scavengers on Jakku are thanking Luke for helping them, and they're giving him their most precious trinkets. Here, take this, take that. And one of them gives him something, and he says, "I don't know what this is. A compass, maybe? Found it in a case labeled Pilio. Who knows where it will lead? Maybe to a place where you won't ever be hungry or worry about starships falling from the sky." Now, this book is very... it's already, even though it's new, it's already infamous for being a bunch of BS. Most of the stories are BS. So we've got somebody giving Luke a compass labeled in a box labeled Pilio. You said the planet was called Pilio in Battlefront, where he finds it. So now that brings up the question: are there more than one compass, or was this just somebody heard that Battlefront story third hand and is telling it now fourth hand.
That's probably more what it is. It's probably more like a telephone effect with the stories, which, by the way, like, I love that Luke Skywalker book, and I love it because you don't have to think canon-y. You know what I mean? Like, it's all these stories. You can just get wrapped up in the feelings and the emotions of like what Luke Skywalker's character is. And right at the beginning, where he's essentially, someone is telling a story about a time when they were at a cantina, and Luke is at the bar listening to someone tell his life stories, and he's like making these comments, and it's just like it gives me the warm and fuzzies, man. Like, I like that book, but it's definitely not an accurate depiction of what happened in canon. But maybe in some ways it is. I mean, the Pelio thing where, you know, it's on the case and it's the compass. It could very well be a thing that's sort of telling that same story in a different way. And who knows? I mean, you know, Luke, perhaps he even told the story differently to protect the person that helped him or whatever, because that was an Imperial person. So, I don't know. There's a couple of different ways to think about it. You know, I guess for me, is the compass going to be something that Luke pulls out, shows Rey, and has significance? Or is this just something that's going to be in the art books and in the games and stuff like that? Because, I mean, I guess the main point is, like, is it significant? Is it significant enough to play a role in the film? I posed that question to you, Andrew Fantasia. What do you think?
Well, I've always been, you know, itching to see this Luke Skywalker Indiana Jones adventure where he's going from temple to temple and uncovering stuff. And like I said on our roundtable, like, video game, get on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, this compass, I don't know, in Battlefront, I don't know if you can say this without spoiling. Do we see him use it? Like, is it like an old-fashioned, like, sundial looking thing, or is it more Star Warsy and like lasers on it and stuff? How does this look?
You know, it's so funny. It's Star Warsy, but not with lasers. It you know what it feels like? It's like a hollowed out thing. It feels like one of those games where you try to get the ball to roll the right way down rivets. Yeah, it looks very cool. You know, it looks Old Republic-y. And so the question becomes, you know, like, look, let's just say the compass is important for the sake of saying it, right? And no, there's nothing in the game that tells. It literally is like such a weird little Luke Skywalker flavor sprinkled in there, and you get all the goodies of Luke. You get to play as Luke. He's very powerful. It was very cool, but it doesn't feel significant. It doesn't feel like, yes, I have this compass now. You know what I mean? Like, he's not that excited about it. He just feels as though the Force has put him there to get it, which is cool. But let's say it is significant. Does it lead him to ach-to? Does it lead him to where Snoke is? Does it lead him to somewhere where he can find out about Snoke? I mean, there's a variety of different things that the compass could lead him to. A lot of people are saying it's how he found ach-to, but I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? What's your gut tell you about this compass?
Well, my gut right now is saying, and I hope it's right, because this would be great. Considering that there's more than one observatory, it stands to reason there's probably more than one compass. So, again, going back to this hypothetical video game, like, how much fun would that be where you've got this compass you found on Pelio, and it leads you to a temple, and it's very Zelda-like. You know, you go through this temple, you find something, and it's like, okay, now I got to find compass number 2, and that'll point me to temple number 2, which is Jakku or ach-to or wherever.
Yes.
God, that game sounds dope already.
I know. And, you know, honestly, whether it's a game, whether it's a book, whether it's even like a show, that would be absolutely incredible. They would really be missing a big opportunity, you know what I mean, to not do that. That's one of the things that's exciting about The Last Jedi, as excited as we all are for The Last Jedi, and holy crap, are we excited. But it's almost more exciting that they'll be able to pull back the curtain for all these things they've been hiding. Because they've been hiding a good bit of the canon because they don't want to ruin The Last Jedi. And so, man, watching Luke try to uncover who is this Snoke guy, what is this thing I feel, what is this virgins out there, you know what I mean? What are these teachings? How's this going to go down? And having him hopefully like bounce from temple to temple, because that'd be really cool. We see that in Rebels too, right? They're on the one on Lothal, and then, you know, then they're called to Malachor. That's the Sith temple, and it's like, man, that is so cool. And they keep sprinkling in that idea, and we kind of get the vibe that they're going Old Republic, whether it be the show or the films. Old Republic seems like a smart way to go, and so they keep throwing all these little teases of the ancient times and the old temples, and even the temples on Yavin 4. You know what I mean? Like those pyramids, those structures are from a Force-sensitive group of people that were not the Jedi, I believe. I actually don't know. It gets muddy for me what's canon, what's not anymore. But exploring that kind of stuff and those kind of ideas are cool. I don't even know if I answered your question. I might have just rambled, but
no, you're right. I don't even like the Massassi, those temples. I don't even know if that's canon anymore. You're right, because that's not. Yeah. I don't think that's been touched on since Disney. So right. That's a fair point. That might be up in the air. And you mentioned about how it's true. We really have to kind of. Our hands are still tied until we see Last Jedi. I feel like Last Jedi is really going to expand the universe more and let us learn more. That's why I was so surprised the other day when James told me that the DLC, the single-player DLC that's coming out for Battlefront, is coming out before The Last Jedi comes out. It comes out like December 8th, something like that. And I was like, that's weird, because I always was of the mind that, people are saying, oh, it's a really short campaign, but like you get the next chunk of it as DLC. I was always of the mind that, okay, they had to cut it down because part of that story, that second half of the story, is just too spoilery in terms of what we're going to see in the movie. So let's hold off till the movie comes out. I thought that makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. By all means, save it until the movie. Like that's a perfect use of the DLC machine in general. Yeah. But the fact that it's coming out before The Last Jedi now, I'm like, well, okay, why
yeah,
is that?
That's probably because they're going to have a sale. Like they'll probably have a sale on Battlefront in conjunction with The Last Jedi, make one last push on it, especially considering that their physical sales were down a fair bit because of all the controversies and things like that. Just another way to sell close to it coming out. I am hoping that they continue to drop DLC throughout next year that explores different aspects of that, because the campaign's really good. The thing about the campaign for me, just to go off on a side Akbar a little bit, it's very good, but you don't really spend I like it a lot because I read Inferno Squad. Not all of Inferno Squad, but I've read enough to like know the characters, know the vibe, feel the sting of betrayal when certain things happen. But you don't really get that in game. You don't spend enough. I feel like you don't spend enough time with the characters. You know what I mean? So that's like my gripe with the campaign so far. I haven't finished it. It's very cool. I think it's an interesting way to introduce some ideas to canon, but I really do not think it's going to do anything central to Last Jedi type opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the game's not really built that way. Like after Last Jedi, we're going to want, you know what I mean? We're going to want Luke Skywalker. We're going to want lightsabers. We're going to want craziness, the Force, Luke's temple, stuff like that. There's no way Battlefront's built to do a Luke's temple DLC. You know what I mean? Like, how are they going to do that with all the Jedi? Like, there's no way. I would lose my mind. I'd be like, this is incredible. But EA and, all those guys, it makes more sense for them to compartmentalize that. That's a whole nother game.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the second artifact in question here today, yes. This is one that is even more, I would say, controversial, and that's this right here.
Yeah, the bling, baby. Woo, let me get a good look at that. Oh, man, dude, that's the Black Series?
That's the Black Series.
I'm going to get mine.
He doesn't even need the Force. He just has to backhand somebody, and they're toast.
Like,
that's a sharp ring.
F out. Yeah, for sure.
And you're actually the one who first told me about this when we met in Orlando, that he would have a black, possibly Kyber crystal on his ring.
Yes.
Now, I don't think we've seen that ring in the trailers yet, but it's on the toy, so I'm assuming that there's going to be a shot, at least one shot, that calls attention to that thing in the movie. Yeah. As it stands right now, what do you think, how important do you think that ring is going to be, maybe not necessarily to Episode 8, but in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, it's another one of those things where it will probably fall the way of just an interesting trinket for hardcore fans and art books and stuff like that, which sucks. But there's also the opportunity that it plays a big role, right? I mean, like, we want it to be black Kyber crystal, or perhaps, like, what I've thought recently is, what if it's a Kyber crystal that he's absorbed all the essence from? You know what I mean? Like, he's just sucked it dry, and now it's just this black stone. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, it would be interesting for it to be the black Kyber. We know very little about the black Kyber crystal. I will say this: the only other time that we've seen one is in the Darksaber, which is an ancient lightsaber. It is from the time of the Mandalorian Jedi Wars. The first Mandalorian Jedi crafts it. And if Kyber is this thing that is sentient, which it is, then the idea of this kind of strange, atypical Kyber calling out to the first Mandalorian Jedi is dope. And I'm not saying that has to be the same Kyber crystal that Snoke has, but similarly, if Snoke finds it, knows its value and strength, also is from that time period, right? Then it would make sense for him to have that. But that's kind of where my thoughts go with it. I mean, for the casuals, you know, like I try to filter all of my theories and everything now through like the Disney casual lens, right? Because they can't leave too much. They can't leave people scratching their heads. You know what I mean? It's bad. At the same time, they do a great job in their ancillary stuff to like give the nerds what they want, man. Like they give us what we want. It's just in books, television shows, and different things like that. So that's kind of where my gut tells me. What do you think, bro? What are you thinking about this Kyber or Brady rather?
It's because we're all in the camp now that Snoke is old school. This man goes way back. He's I don't know yet if I've made peace with the idea of him actually holding a black lightsaber at some point in the past or future, but I think that he was definitely a presence at the time when those were in vogue. And there's obviously more than one black Kyber, so Tar Vizsla's sword wasn't the only one. Maybe he was swinging one around back in the day. Maybe he still got it. But I think that the whole idea of being a lightsaber crystal is one of those things that like becomes a I used to have a cool word for this and a cool term for it. I'm going to try to remember a playground urban myth. Like one of those things where, you know, when we were little kids and we talked to each other on the playground about something, and he's like, oh, you know, I heard that there's a certain pipe in Super Mario Brothers that takes you to like a minus world where everything's all messed up. Like it's one of those where like they say, hey, you know that bad guy Snoke? I heard that's a lightsaber crystal on his ring. It'll be one of those things where it's, you know, they read it somewhere or they saw it in like a visual dictionary or something. But it's gonna be, we're gonna get like a nice close up of it, I think, but he's not gonna full out say, Ray, look at my lightsaber ring.
I know, right? It's bitchin'. You know what I mean? Or something like that. But you know what's interesting too? There's always been that theory that was thrown out last year that I've kind of liked about Snoke being a fraud and not actually being as strong with the Force as he claims. What if the Kyber crystal is a way for him to essentially harness the power of the Force? Because I think that like he could, you know, if he has that thing that he's sucking the essence off and he's using it, perhaps he has the ability to use the Force as like a conduit, but he's not able to like use it himself. So like, what if he uses the Black Kyber? What if that's literally like the source of his power? So like when he's holding up Rey and they're having that fight and all that, you know what I mean? And then she cracks the Kyber and then he can't do anything and he's got no power.
That would be really cool. Like he's it's like the weak point on a boss in like a video game.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, you hurt this body all you want, it's not going to do anything. But as soon as you flick that Kyber, and it's like, oh crap, now he's out for the count.
Now he's blinking red, and you can do damage. Blip, blip,
yeah, yep. Exactly. And another thing that has been tossed around is the idea that, and I'm more and more I'm thinking this is absolutely a possibility because they want to surprise us. But it's been tossed around a lot that Snoke might not survive this movie.
Sure.
If that's the case, what do you think the chances are that whoever kills him, be it Rey or Kylo or somebody else, if it is Rey or Kylo, because this would make the most sense, if one of those two kills him, what do you think the chances are that by killing him and maybe succumbing to the darkness, they take that crystal off his finger and put it in a saber?
That would be so freaking amazing. Man, it would be really cool to just in general. Like, okay, so let's think about this for a second. First of all, I'm trying to think of a way that could happen in my head, and that would be awesome, right? Like Kylo replaces it and has a black crossguard saber. Like, dude, give me all the toys. But you know what else is interesting is the relic that we didn't talk about is the red Kyber crystal that apparently Luke has, right? So why does Luke have a red Kyber crystal? And why does Snoke have a black kyber crystal? And we're about to tomorrow. James and I are going to do the Last Jedi live stream again, and we're doing the lightsaber theory. This theory is about how the kyber within that saber is sentient, and it's showing Rey what it has seen, and also a similar kyber has shown Kylo what it has seen. And I'll explain that and go into it tomorrow. But this is how Kylo knows who she is. But essentially, why do they have these kybers? If the kybers are like, okay, so we think that Luke has Vader's, and he keeps it as a reminder because it has all the pain that Anakin felt. He has thrust all of his pain and hatred into this thing and corrupted it red, right? And Luke keeps it as a reminder, and also sort of like almost as like a weird friend. Like, oh, you knew Pops too. You guys had so many good times. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like keeping it like that and keeping it intact. What if the black saber's the same way? It was the saber for maybe Snoke's master or something. You know what I mean? And he keeps it as a reminder because it shows the pain that his master felt or something like that. Or it has that special kind of memory, and he's keeping it as sort of like a friend. Wouldn't that be kind of cool? You know what I mean? And then think about this. What if that saber is calling with that kyber? Let's say it is a kyber crystal. What if it's calling out? What if it's been calling out? What if it is the thing that was calling out and not Snoke? And you know what I'm saying?
Snoke is the puppet, and that crystal is the puppeteer.
Yeah, man. That would be so intense. You know what I mean? That would be so intense. And then, like, yeah, I can see it calling to Kylo. Although we've heard in the movie that Snoke is sort of going to be disappointed with Kylo and sort of tease him and taunt him and toy with him throughout the movie. Play him against Hux and different things like that. So, I mean, you know, he and Snoke are going to start butting heads a little bit, but what if the crystal doesn't? What if the crystal wants Kylo? I mean, he does need arguably a better crystal inside that saber. So, yeah, man, that would be super hype, though.
And how crazy would that be? Like, if you have that whole situation of, okay, Snoke is a puppet for this ring, and we, the audience, know this, but Kylo and Rey don't. And at the end of the movie, they take down Snoke, and Kylo has turned to the dark side, and they're the two of them are gonna start some bad stuff going on now.
Yep.
And he takes that and he gives that crystal to her, and he's like, "Here, this is yours now." And she's like, "Oh, cool," you know. And she puts it in. The last shot is of her turning it on, and she's got a black blade. And the two of them are thinking, "This is great. We're powerful now." And meanwhile, we're thinking, like, "Oh God, they're screwed. That thing is evil, and they're screwed." Like that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be fantastic if it's the thing that's controlling everything. Because it reminds me of a Grant Morrison X-Men book where you learn that like the genes are the thing that were controlling us the whole time, and they were trying to get to the perfect mutation. And it's an interesting theory too, like in biology, because a lot of the genes within our body are actually not our DNA at all. Like the mitochondria, that's a separate DNA than us. The bacteria, which literally outnumber our cells like 100 to 1, different DNA than us. So like we're actually made up of other things, you know what I mean, in our own DNA. Like what if we're just the puppets, you know what I mean? Because like they're starting to do some really weird research into gut bacteria and understanding how much that affects us. They've linked depression, they've linked all sorts of diseases and things to your gut bacteria, which is just how pleased is your puppet master about what the puppet does.
Damn, that's a scary thought.
Yeah. Sorry to freak everyone out, but get your biome tested.
Yeah. It's just as if you have enough midi-chlorians, you'll be okay, but otherwise get some tests done.
Yeah,
so we've got compasses coming, we've got rings coming. It's definitely a trinket-filled Star Wars universe, which I like. I've always been a fan of those early theories back in like 2012 where like we're gonna get like Jedi artifacts and stuff. I was
Rey's staff, man. What the hell is Rey's staff? Like we're still like, is that just a staff? Because they put a lot of emphasis on that thing. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. In The Force Awakens, there's that shot of it just going in. There's always shots of that freaking thing. What is the staff? Tell us.
And I know it looks cool, but if it wasn't that important, why she still got it? She still got it on ach-to. So there's something in there, whether it's like you screw open the top and there's like Vader's ashes inside or something. I don't know, but something's up with that staff. We're going to find out sooner or later. Until then, we have been flying very casually. I am Andrew Fantasia, and I have been joined, of course, by Joshua Lucas. Josh, tell the good people where they can find you.
You can find me on the Den of Nerds. It's this thing that we do. We talk about nerdy things.
But until then, enjoy yourselves watching trailers and all that fun stuff, and we will see you next time on Flying Casual. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.